Hey everyone, Aaron here again with Canyon Adventure Vans, and today we are shooting our install video for our bed risers here in the Jayco Terrain Entegra launch vans. We're going to show you guys how we do this here. To get into it, I'm going to start with the tools you're going to need. You're going to need a little Allen here for adjustment. It looks like this is a 5/32 bit. We're using a little baby ratchet here. If you don't have one of these, highly recommend you get one. But if not, I believe the kit includes just a standard Allen key that you can use. You should be provided with 6 of these tapered screws here. And the best Phillips bit for that's going to be a number 3. If you can zoom in on that. It's a little bit wider spread bit. You could use a standard Phillips bit, but I do recommend this one as it fits into that screw nicely. It's going to avoid any stripping. As you can see, I'm going to show you guys 2 different techniques here today. One is with a 90 drill that fits in here nicely so that you can just drill straight in. Most of you are probably going to be working with screwdrivers or drill like this, which it actually looks like this one can fit. It's not going to be a great fit. So if you're working with a bigger drill or anything like that, I want to show you another way of doing this just so you're not stuck. So let's get into our first one. We'll go ahead and start on this side, and I'm going to show you guys the 90 degree drill technique first. So what we're going to do here first is put our bed riser in. It's pretty easy to know which side's which just by getting it fit in. But one other way of telling is the logo is always going to be on the driver's side. So if you grab the one with the logo, go ahead and throw that in there, and then we can get started. And so what you're going to kind of look at first is this alignment here on the edge. So as I kind of throw it in, every van's a little different with how this plastic is. Some are perfectly straight, some are bowed down. This one particularly is bowing down a little bit, so it's kind of pushing this out, and it's not where we want. So as you can see, I can kind of push this in to where I want, and assuming this outlet is square, which you never know on these vans, but we're gonna go based off of that, and then we can always tweak it later. But so this is kind of what we're going for, is this nice edge here. We're just kind of right at the top of this curve, and that's what I like. So we're also gonna try and make sure we're pushed as far back this way as possible. We're hitting the frame here of this window, and we're also pushed all the way up towards this wall here. So that's just kind of an eyeball reference there. We're gonna let it kind of fall back down. And now what we're gonna do is there's 2 bolts here that we're gonna loosen up. One here in this corner, and then the opposite side over here. And it's just these ones here. That's gonna allow this bar to move up or down to help us level this out so that it's nice and square, so that when you're standing out there outside your van, you don't have this crazy tilt or this falling off the edge getting in the way of your bed, that kind of thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and loosen up these. The guys build these with these bolts pretty tight, so don't be intimidated if your bolt is really tight and takes a little bit of muscle to get it. That's where having even a bigger ratchet can help with a little more leverage, but just lean into it, it'll loosen up. And so now, as you can see here, as I hold this bar, it's kind of pivoting as I move this, and that's gonna help me level this all out. So again, we're gonna push it back into place where we want it, and then kind of hold it there as we level out this bottom bar. And this one's actually requiring quite a bit of tweaking to get it to fit right. Yours may not need as much bend. So now I'm gonna kind of hold this in place where I want it and tighten these back up. If you have a helping hand, that's always great, but as you can see, I'm managing here by myself. Tighten those up. Cool. And now I'll just close this door and just make sure that I like that. Okay. And you could do this step last, but the main thing you want to make sure is once you commit to those screw holes, and I'll show you a way that you can adjust this, but you do want to make sure this line is consistent. Again, there are ways of tweaking that, but here's what we're gonna kind of do. So now that we have this in place, we're gonna get our screws ready. And again, I'm gonna do this side with this 90. And you can kind of look over into this gap here and make sure that you're aligned. So I can kind of come back a little bit more here. The main thing you just don't want is this bar hanging over this curve there. So I don't know if you can get that on the camera, but as I'm looking over, I really like that line. I'm gonna push back a little bit right here, and I'll actually start on this side. So I'll put my screw in here, get my 90 drill in there, eyeballing it, getting ready, and now we'll commit. Cool. And once that grabs, you're pretty good. You can give a couple more tweaks or a couple more turns, and we're good there. Kind of close it, make sure you like where you're at here. Cool, I still like this. Can push this side back a little bit. Nice consistent line here. And if you look right here on the power outlet, we're leaning out a little, so I'll fix that in a sec, but we are more or less straight. And again, like it looks like we're straight with this line here. We're probably straight with this bed frame. This outlet might be off, so I'll show you later. We'll go back and kind of eyeball to get the perfect fit. But now I can go ahead, keep an eye on my line here, and get ready for the next screw. And here we go. Okay. And once you get these in, you can just go ahead and make sure these are nice and tight, just to be sure. Okay, again, checking my line here. Looks great. We're nice and even all the way across here. And I'll do my third screw. Okay. And if you do have a longer bit or an extension, that'd probably help a little bit too. I'm gonna move this out just a little bit. That way I'm not scratching this bracket here. A little tricky to get there, but there we go. Okay, cool. So now this is good. Give it a shake. That's in there good. And so we'll see if we can maybe straighten that out if we need to. But now we'll come and take a look back here. And I'm actually pretty happy with that, the way that it's lined up. It looks like it's, you know, pretty straight with our bed rail there and everything. So maybe not perfect with that outlet, but everything else seems to be, you know, straight there. So I like that. But now what you can do is loosen those same ones that I did earlier, those two corners, and you can kind of, you know, move this, because this is ultimately attached to this bar. So if you need to move in one way or another or tweak one way or another, it's all based off of this bar. So you can make some tweaks in the end too. I just like to kind of do them in the beginning to get it set where it needs to be and then lock it all in. Fine tune if you need to, but in this case we didn't need to. All right, so now we're gonna do the passenger side, and I'm gonna show you the technique with a larger drill. It's very similar, but basically what we're gonna be doing is instead of drilling right in, we're gonna get it in place, mark our holes, pre-drill or pre-screw it, and then go back into those holes with a screwdriver that'll fit in there. So let's go ahead and get into it. Again, we're just getting this where we want it. I loosened up these sides to get this to be leveled out. We're gonna try and kind of base it off of probably this line here. Go off the bed track, that seems to be pretty straight. So we're kind of leveling it off of that, making sure we have a similar coverage as, you know, to this side here, that same kind of distance. And so now once we've got it kind of leveled in place, I'm holding it tight right here. I'm gonna take a pencil and just go into each one of these holes and mark where that screw is gonna go on each one of these holes. And I'm gonna try and make a pretty small circle just so it's pretty explicit where exactly I need that screw to go in. And again, this is because we're not gonna be able to fit a drill in there. So we'll then take this off. Go ahead and close it here so we don't knock the door on anything. And we'll set this down. So now we're gonna go to these holes we made, okay? And we're gonna just get these screws started. Don't screw them all the way in. I wouldn't recommend pre-drilling. There is a water tank that's in here a few inches down, so pre-drilling too far in is gonna give you some problems. So really we're just trying to get this started so that we can go back with a screwdriver and not have to get it started by hand. If you've ever tried to do that with a screwdriver, it's not the funnest. So we're gonna try to avoid that by just getting these started. So just get basically past that start of the screw where it stops tapering, just a couple threads in. We're gonna get that started and then we should be good. So there we go. We'll back that out. And then if you're using this technique, I would recommend either getting a short stubby screwdriver that'll fit in here, or if you have one of these little ratchets, you just take that same bit, put it in here, and that'll be plenty of leverage for us to push down and get that screw in there. So now we'll go ahead and put this back on here. Put everything back in place. I think my bar got kind of moved around when I was wrestling down there with it, so we're gonna kind of need to realign some things here. And really all you gotta focus on right now is just getting on top of those holes we just drilled, and then you can fine tune where the rest of the bed riser is once we're locked in there. So cool, I'm looking over the top here. I don't know if you can get this on camera just to show that I have access to all three of these holes here. Boom, boom, boom. And then we'll start with the middle guy here. Get that screw in there. And then, boom, we got our ratchet or our stubby screwdriver in there. And just kind of keep some pressure on top of your screwdriver or your ratchet here to make sure that you're getting downward force so that you're not just stripping out that plastic. Okay. We'll get that all the way in there. Don't over tighten it, because again, we're just going into plastic here, so you don't want to strip it out. They're pretty thick screws, so it's kind of hard to do that, but just be careful. And then boom, we're good. We're looking good on this alignment. I can fix that in a second. So we'll get our other two screws in there. Boom. Okay. Last screw here. So it's a few more steps than using just a 90 drill, but still possible. Okay, and now we're gonna do the same technique we've been doing with those side Allen bolts and just kind of get this where we want it, straight off of this here, nice edge here. Open this back up, and then our final move is just tightening up those corner brackets. We'll put back on our Allen into our ratchet here, or grab your Allen key and then just give these guys a tighten. Okay, so now I'm gonna show you something, a final tuning thing. Well, first we'll step back, make sure we like this alignment, that they look right, that they're lined up with that bed frame and as square as possible, given that these vans do vary and sometimes things aren't as square as we'd like them to be, but we're doing our best working off all of the things here. So one final thing that we'll do here when we get done is give these a light little rock here. Now this one in particular, I actually really like that. This one's not, it doesn't need anything else. It's secure there. It's pushed up against things nicely. This one here needs a little bit of love, okay? We don't like that. That's gonna be making some noise going down the road, rubbing and stuff like that. So it doesn't look like I can fix that with this bar here. So what we'll typically do is get some adhesive felt pads, some soft Velcro, anything that you can kind of shim into some of these gaps. We make these to fit, you know, as best as we can. But again, these variances in the van make it a little tricky. This is plastic here. Some of them are molded a little differently and they have slopes and things like that. So as you can see, this side's great. I've had this side on other vans not be great. It's just the way it goes. So putting a little felt pad in here, a little double-sided Velcro, anything to kind of cushion that rub is gonna ultimately help us out. And it looks like the main source of our problems is kind of under these corners here. So I'm gonna show you what we use. It's something you can get at a local craft shop or anything like that, or get off of Amazon, some simple Velcro, soft Velcro felt pads. I'm gonna show you a couple different options that we use, and it's something that you can definitely purchase from us as well. Most of the time we don't need to do this final step, but I do want you guys to know that there are ways of, you know, working with this issue that we have here. So hold tight, I'll be right back with some supplies. So a couple different products here. This one's Gorilla pads, peel and stick little pads here. We do have some other felt pads. These ones are actually pretty cool. I just found these in the office. I like them. These are Scotch 3M double locking Velcro. This is kind of more if you're trying to get something to stick, which we're not necessarily trying to do on this one. So I'm just gonna start with a couple of these back here just to give this window a little bit of padding. I think that's gonna help us out a little bit. So I'll try to hide it so it's not super obvious, but still effective. So there we go. So already we're kind of feeling a lot better and we're avoiding that noise. So cool, so we got this one in there. It's helping out with that noise and that rattle. And then we're gonna go here as well. So yeah, that helps out with that noise a lot. So also included in your kit should be 4 pairs of Velcro with both sides, hook and loop. And these are optional, but we're gonna use these to help adhere this to the bed riser itself. I've had some people, especially with this bamboo, where they like to use this as some type of tabletop or whatever, so they don't actually want Velcro on there. So again, it is optional, but it will help to keep those bolsters in place. So what we'll do here is just align this. You can kind of just eyeball where you want. For this one in particular, I'm just gonna go kind of based off these curves here, just so it's consistent and easy. All right, so I'm gonna go about a 1/2 inch in from this edge here and just kind of try to get it straight and commit, boom. There we go. Now we'll do our other one. I'm doing the softer side down. That way we do take this off. It's not a hard abrasive side that's gonna scratch you or your things. So we're gonna go same thing, about a 1/2 inch in from the edge here, lining it up with that back there. Kind of put this anywhere, but I'm just kind of spreading these out so they get a good grab on the bolster. And then you can go ahead and peel the tops off here. And then you're gonna take your bolster and You ultimately do want your bolster to fit, you know, as flush with the edge here to avoid catching your bed on the way down. So I'm gonna kind of push into the side of the van as I push down onto here, and that'll kind of help to hold this bolster back to, again, avoid it from catching when your bed comes down here. Truth be told, you're probably still gonna catch, and you're just gonna have to be careful lowering your bed. That's just the nature of kind of the angle of how this all gets pushed up. And ultimately, I would, not that I want to force you guys on an upsell here, but our upgraded mattress does fit a little better up in here with the bolsters, and it does come with Velcro that's going to stick a little better. Right now we're just relying on adhesive to catch this top one. Over time, if you're pulling this off and on, there's a good chance it can slip off, just being honest here with you guys, but this does hold it in a lot better than just throwing it on top of there. So we'll go ahead and repeat this process on the other side. Okay, I'm gonna grab this again. This side actually fits pretty nice and flush up against the edge here, but I'm still gonna push in just a little bit. Push in and commit. Push down. Could have went in a little further on that one, but that's all right. To be honest, this actually sticks pretty good to this material. So it might not be as big of a problem as I was just mentioning, but I like to be honest. So there we go, kind of push that in and try and get that edge as clean as possible. So again, we're avoiding this catching on the way down. You can only do so much, but we try our best. I'm gonna try and adjust this side. And what you could do is kind of, maybe you can zoom in on this here. Kind of when you're peeling this off for the first time, kind of keep your thumbs on this Velcro to avoid it from peeling off. And again, I'm actually pretty impressed. It must just be this type of material that's really sticking pretty good to that. So that's cool. So again, you can kind of push in and maybe even go a little bit further than flush, because it's going to kind of push back once it's locked in. Boom, that's gonna kind of help out there. And now we're looking good. Probably won't catch too bad coming down, if at all. Well, there you have it, folks. Aaron here again with Canyon Adventure Vans. This was our installation video of our bed risers here in the Entegra Launch Jayco terrain builds. As you can see, we've got our bolsters locked in, our bed risers locked in. We've got all this extra storage space. It's looking good. If you guys do like these install videos and the content we're putting out, please like, subscribe, comment. All of our links to our social media accounts will be in the descriptions below. Please keep having fun out there, and we'll catch you on the next one.